Hello and welcome, folks, to another very special edition of RSF Radio. I am your host, Joe Monday, and this is typically the podcast where we talk about what's been going on the week of our Street Fighter. However, we have a very special guest with us tonight. You might know him from his YouTube channel, Switch channel, or if you know him from the Vancouver scene, it's PB Geki. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Ups and downs. Things are pretty good, right? I'm just pulled 1,000 different directions right now, and I don't have the processor in my brain is over. I'm overclocking it, and I need to replace it. But you know, those
you need to cool down. You need those like cooling fans,
dude. Yeah, if I could get like a sick ass heat sink into like the back of my brain stem, and just have that running all the time, so I could like properly overclock my brainstem, then we'd be okay. But you can't do that. As of right now, I've just got way too much of that. What do they call it? Is it like what's that like gel stuff that the little paste, the heat paste that like I always feel like I have to put way too much on. I don't know if you ever like built a computer.
It's like a Vicks Vapor Rub sort of, but like not menthol, right?
Yeah,
I know what you're talking
weird
about.
pasty stuff, and you put it on, and it's like I always put way too much on, and people are only like, you only need a pea size, and I'm like, well, I better make sure I got all of it on there.
But it feels so good though. That's why you do it, right? It's like extra cooling. You know what I mean?
So, folly of theirs. I don't know what you're talking about, because I'm talking about when you put a CPU like into a motherboard and you have to have that like heating element on.
Okay.
But you might be talking about icy hot, or
you know what? I think I'm talking about the icy hot for computers,
or shit,
whatever that's called.
Like other stuff that like. I had a friend in college who had this like stuff that came in like a green tube, and he's like, you only want a little bit of this, and I was like, I don't know about that, man. And it burned way more than icy hot. It was some like aftermarket icy hot. Well, regardless, got you on the show. You were excited to talk about what you got going on out there, and also a couple of other things. So I'm gonna let you lead with the topic of your choosing, because we got a couple up here.
Sure. Well, one of the biggest things I wanted to talk about, and I think it's not being talked about enough, is mental game, and especially mental health in terms of, gaming, and also just because it translates to real life so well.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say things like, taking care of yourself, like not only taking care of your hands, because if you play pad or if you play on a certain controller that's uncomfortable, like, certain Smash players on GameCube controllers are super uncomfortable. But I think mental health is super important, and people they're talking about like, tips for calming down your nerves in tournament, but I think going deeper is more important. You know what I mean?
Because you're still a you every moment leading up to the moment where you sit down for your match.
Yes,
like
exactly.
You're bringing a whole lot of information to the table before you even get to the sticks.
Yeah, exactly.
That's something that I personally deal with that, and it's this level of like performance anxiety. It's one of those things that I don't, and this is me personally, and there's a lot of things that I do to manage it, but it is something that I have to continually manage, and I have to continually address and wrestle with and say that this won't be, or at least try to affect the way that it can have a control over you sometimes. At least I deal with like anxiety,
Definitely.
like hella anxiety. That's like my one thing. So,
but do you feel it's gotten worse for you, or over time?
No, it's gotten better because I've learned ways of managing it.
Okay.
Specifically, there's like one mantra that I continually put in my head, and it's that you just have to do it. And to do it, you have to do it. And getting to like that place in your mind to like, it's hard to explain. Actually, I don't know really what the science behind this one is, but it's like if I know that I'm gonna need to do this, it's like I don't need to, right? Like I don't have to put up with that anxiety, but it's like no, I want to face that. Like even like running tournaments and stuff, it's like, well, I'm gonna get anxiety almost every time I play, but I enjoy.
I think it's
this
definitely a
thing.
comfortableness too, you know? You have to like do it so much that you're like, it's instead of being uncomfortable because it's a new experience and a new feeling, you sort of
Yeah,
get used to that feeling, right?
yeah. It's not so much, at least to me, it's not so much repressing it. It's so much me being like, okay, this is happening. I'm in this moment. I have this
Yeah,
anxiety. Let's breathe that out. But
exactly.
in
Yeah.
addition to that, there's also like, what am I bringing today mentally? Like,
Hmm.
what have I been struggling with, like in my work life, like in my 9 to 5, which is actually like more like
Oh, I see.
a, a 6 to 6, but that's a whole other story, where
I see. I see.
I have to like get those things or those thoughts out of my head, or at least address them. One thing that's actually been really helpful to me, and I know that
Hmm.
this isn't available to everybody, but I
Yeah.
talk to my wife about it. I just have a conversation. We sit down like after work, and I just say, even if it sounds shitty that like the story is like sometimes like, because there's so many days in your life where it's like, if you work a job where it's like nothing really that significant happened, but just like sitting
Yes.
down and saying that and just like being like, okay, I'm over that, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like a reality check, sort of, you know, like you want to, like, you know, put it out in the world and like put it up for comparison, sort of like, you know what? Okay, maybe I overreacted in my head. It's not that bad, or it's something I can move on from or take something good from it. You know what I mean?
yeah, like, and just recognizing that that was a moment in the past. I'm in this
Hmm.
moment right now,
Yeah.
and we're gonna walk out of it together. And like, again, at least with me, because I I have a wife, I'm living with a partner, where it's
Hmm.
like we can just, at least most of the time, she also works a lot too, so it's kind of like a, that's kind of the bad situation. Like, my long hours start early in the morning and her long hours start at the end of the day, so it's like finding that time
Oh,
can
I see.
sometimes be difficult, but
Need
that's a
to
whole,
sync up somehow.
yeah. It's finding that moment to, to readjust our watches and make sure we're on the same time. But just like having just that 1 minute to just, and if like, try to have someone like in your life, then if like you're coming to a tournament with anxiety, or if like
Hmm.
if it's just like, man, that flight was rough, like,
Yeah,
I'm tired, I
exactly.
didn't sleep too much, or like, that was a long flight, that was tough, or this week was really crazy at work, but I need to move on, and I need to get to the next moment in my brain. And like, sometimes you have to sleep on things too, like getting a good
That's
night's
true
sleep.
too. Hmm.
uh Hella
Good
important.
diet as well, you know?
Yes. Yeah, there's like, man, there's tons of things that you can do, man. Yeah, you, I feel like we just mentioned that flippantly, but like, a good diet is
Yeah.
super important. Like, that's not a thing to be like flippant about. Like,
Yeah,
there have
exactly.
been so many studies that just tie, like, that can even tie just mental health to diet and exercise.
Hmm.
Like, that's what, if you talk to your doctor, which, if you think that something is, it's like, seriously, there's a chemical imbalance in your brain, then like, please go see a doctor. That's important. But
Yeah, exactly.
like, the first thing they'll ask you is, they'll ask you a couple questions of like, what's your diet? Do you exercise? How much are you drinking? Like, very typical stuff where it's like, they ask you it for a reason, because like, they
Hmm.
can glean important information and say, well, you should, yeah, maybe like back off on the alcohol, or like back off on, you know, just get moving during the day. Like, I get up and
Yeah, exactly.
like, during my work, I get up and I take laps. Like, I have to walk around and move, because for the most part,
Mm.
I'm sitting down. Or if on days where I am sitting down, I'll get up and I'll have to move, just to like, just to feel alive. You can't
Yeah,
all.
exactly. You have to like you can't be in one state for too long, I feel like, during like the time you're awake. You have to like be
Mhm,
transitioning, you know what I mean? It's kind of like when you're playing fighting games. If you just sit there all day and crouch,
mhm,
something bad's going to happen and you're going to get uncomfortable because you've been crouching the whole time. So when you start walking, you won't feel as comfortable, you know what I mean?
mhm, mhm.
And I think too, like what a lot of people, because people mention, you know, good diet, you know, what you should eat or what you shouldn't eat before tournament, whatnot. But also timing is important too, because you can have a really good meal for yourself. But I find if you eat too close to the time where you have to play, like let's say you eat half an hour before and then you go up to play, I feel like personally for me and from what other people have told me that they do much worse
Yeah.
than if they eat like maybe 2 hours before or even like 3 hours before, for example. Like I personally myself, I do a lot of, I'm currently doing intermittent fasting.
Ooh.
So I eat only from 1 to 9 p.m. And in those outside hours, I'm not eating at all. I'm just drinking water.
Which is,
and I find
it's people should do a lot more of.
Yeah, it's good for your body. I feel like,
hey, you listener, you're not drinking enough water. How do I know this?
Yeah,
because you're not drinking enough water. No, like
exactly.
Almost no one does.
This is actually a little crude, but like a good way of knowing if you're drinking enough water is when you go to the washroom, and if your urine is relatively clear, like if it's more clear than yellow, then you're doing a good job.
Yeah, that is true.
And if not, you need to like pick up the slack and drink more water because you're not having enough.
That's not true. I don't think I warned you, but you can swear on this show. You can say piss.
Yeah, okay.
You can.
I just don't want to go that way if I don't have to. You know what I mean?
Understandable.
Yeah.
But you're totally right. Like if you've got some dank ass piss, if you're like shooting neon ribbons,
yeah.
You gotta hit
neon ribbons. That's a horrible image.
yeah. No, there's been some gnarly business. Like if you've just eaten a bunch of asparagus and you're ruining everyone's day, gotta fix that, man.
I will say though, I've tried so often to fix asparagus piss, and it's
not possible.
It doesn't matter how much water you drink; it's gonna come out that way. Yeah, it's not possible. That's why I really have to be careful when I have it.
Mm-hmm. Or like beet poops. You ever had the beet poops?
Not yet, no. Because I'm pretty good with beets and I don't have them too much, so I haven't experienced what you have. But
oh man, no,
I will now avoid it.
You get some beets. So here's a good way to prepare beets. This is some nutrition advice from the Art Street Fighter podcast.
Please,
just go pick up some beets, just like the whole thing, the whole beet. If you can find that at your grocer. And then you basically prepare it just like a baked potato. You put it in the oven, you like salt the outside, stick it in the oven. You kind of jab it with a fork first because I don't know if beets can explode, but I'm not sure, so I do it anyway. Stick it in the oven, and then you basically can just eat it like a baked potato. It softens up in a way that it's like, it's not as soft as a potato per se, but it does get soft enough where you can just eat it with a fork. And that little salt, little pepper, maybe a little butter, so good. And also, that
sounds really good.
It is really good, but it also turns your poops into like a lovely violet color in a way that like you're not going to want to, but you're totally going to want to show someone. You're going to want to be like, oh wow,
yeah, you got to be proud of that, right?
This palette of this violet, dark blue, bluish. It is a lovely color that painters would pay thousands of dollars. I know painters who would pay thousands of dollars for such a vibrant color.
I'm sure there's a market out there for that.
Of course there is. I've seen some high art. I have an artist friend who he's an artman. He's an artsman. Wouldn't put it by him. But yeah, so that's like the other end of eating well and making sure that, those things are, the point is, those things are tied together where,
100%.
If like eating a whole bunch of junk food or like hella sweets, and if you're intaking a bunch of calories like right before and you're not expelling them some way, then it's going to be a problem. It's going to affect your game.
And the thing is, I found like for myself personally, like the best way to find out what works for you is just through experimentation. And especially if you have a way to like be in tournaments, and I think everyone does, because like there's always either locals in your like near you, or at the very least you can have online tournaments, and you can practice having certain things before, having certain things during, certain amount of water, mental exercises that you're doing or breathing techniques. And you can just find out what works best. I think for me, it took me about, I'd say 6 months to fully figure out what works best for me. And I'm still polishing a little bit here and there, like for certain moments. but in general, I know what to do. Just because I've failed and tried so many times that didn't work, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point, especially with Evo around the corner. You're going to have a lot of people who... I mean, there's just a lot of people who really only travel to Evo or only travel to big tournaments. But specifically at Evo, it's kind of hard to get like food in a timely fashion.
It's true. Yeah.
It is kind of a hard thing to describe if you've never seen it, if you've never been there, but like getting to like from one place to another can take like a long time. And like waiting in line for food or waiting till like everyone is ready to go get food because you might be going with a group. Like there's so many things that can delay you like having any kind of regular meal. So what I actually try and do is like on the Thursday or whatever day that I get there, I'll go to like a Trader Joe's or something. You can just like get like rent a car for a day, pick up like a bunch of food, like more that will take care of me for the weekend if like we don't eat out at all, because like we're gonna eat out because the food there is very good. Like there's some very good food in Vegas.
There's so many good things there.
And there's
the crime to stay in and eat. Yeah,
honestly, it really is. But
there's just too much stuff to sample. Yeah,
dude, there's some that is a whole other like longer conversation about like where to get all of the good. I didn't prep for that one, but I do have a list somewhere, at least in my head, of like, well, you gotta hit this place, you gotta go to this buffet, you gotta go really out of your way to get get this really good pho, whole number of things. But regardless, just getting stuff that can get you by from any moment to any other moment, and also getting like a bunch of water, like having a ton of water, huge. And also because at least they did this last year, you could bring water into the event, you could bring a backpack into the event. So I got like big old jugs of water, like 2 liters of water.
You were the jug person?
I took 2. I took 2 in my bag because I could fit them with the stick.
Nice.
And they came in handy. It was like because I ran into Michael Barton. He was like, "Man, I'm parched." I'm like, "Take one of these because I have 8, and I'm not going to drink all 8 of these, and I have 2 on my person right now. So here you go." It's a desert. It's literally a desert.
It is. Yeah, and like last year was actually my first Evo, so it wasn't 100% prepared for every experience. But yeah, we arrived Thursday afternoon, like just after 12, and I made the mistake of not eating. And the thing is, I didn't realize how hot and desert-like it would be. Like I knew it would be hot because I've been to Vegas before.
It's insufferable in the middle of the summer. You've never been to that.
You can't breathe. No. You can't breathe. And then like we walked to where was it? Shake Shack. And then after Shake Shack, we walked even further to go to this like convenience store. And the best thing I bought there was not only water, but this mixed nut bag. And I was snacking on that through the entire day one of pools. And I felt super good. And by the end of it, I was on top of the world. I made it out in winners in my pool. So I felt really, really good.
Oh, rad. Any kind of like specifically nuts that have a lot of protein. Because like trail mix might not have protein in it. Like you might get like a Chex Mix trail mix that like is just like salty.
I find those don't do too well because it makes you thirstier too, you know?
Yes. But like something that has like peanuts, almonds, pumpkin seeds, like that kind of stuff. Very good.
I went for the one that had it had like almonds, peanuts, cashews, and strawberries, like dried strawberries.
Oh,
and those little yogurt balls.
I'm okay.
Yeah, it was really good actually.
Something like that, much better to eat than like something salty that'll get you more thirsty.
Because especially at a tournament, there's gonna be plenty of salt to go around, so you don't need it anymore.
Yeah, plenty. Of
yeah.
Okay, that kind of covers like diet, but what else? Anything on mental health before moving on to perhaps the next topic?
Well, actually, I was gonna mention it before, but I thought we'd keep going the diet way. But when you mentioned talking about it with somebody, I think because it really helps when I talk, because I have a girlfriend myself, and I tell her everything I'm feeling. before, after a tournament. She like supports me from afar, sort of. Like she'll never go to an event ever, but
Oh no, you didn't take her to Evo.
No, she would never do it. That's what I told her. It's like the Olympics of fighting games, but she just thinks it's silly. But she respects that, like, you know, I'm trying to be good at something, and I'm also improving myself while doing this. So
That's fair. That's fair.
You know, it's a win-win for her, right? But yeah, I find even if you just have a player you know or you've met, like most top players I talk to are people that are, you know, known in the community.
Mm-hmm.
They're super nice and approachable. Like if you just tell them like, hey, I have some questions, like if you don't mind answering, usually like 9 times out of 10 they'll stop and like they'll like give you an honest answer. They'll listen to you respectfully, and they're not gonna, you know, interrupt you, right? So I mean, even if you have no friends in the world, but you're going to a tournament, if there's someone that you know or someone that you like, just talk to them and tell them what you're feeling. Tell them if you're feeling nervous or whatever, and why you're feeling nervous. Try to go, you know, as detailed as they allow, and you'll feel a lot better. Even if they don't give you the right answer or the answer you're looking for, it might just make you feel better because you're putting it out there. You're making it not as big as you think it is. Because people always build up things in their head worse than when you actually say it out loud.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I also kind of want to touch on pro tip for talking to pro players. Don't talk to them immediately after a match if they've just finished a match. Like,
don't touch them either. Like right after a match.
Don't.
There's like some adrenaline. Yeah.
It might sound like the, unless it's like hell yeah, man, like a unless it's like just a congratulations.
If it's like a high five, that's like as the line. I'd say that's like as far as you should.
That is it. Also, don't high five at conventions. Do a fist bump.
Like, yeah, exactly. Side note,
that's true. For your health, only.
If you don't know people, don't handshake.
Don't touch their hands. Give them a fist bump. Never touch your face. These are drink lots of water. Yeah. Only fist bump people. Never touch your face are like the 3 ways to avoid convention disease.
I started bringing hand sanitizer actually because like it just
true. Or hand wipes just like as well, because you never know who's going to need a stick. Then you're gonna
exactly. That's why I've stopped lending my stick because I'm just paranoid as hell. Like when I get it back, it's just covered in sweat, and I'm like, it was clean before.
It's got that like weird, gross, like dried sweat on it. That's like, ugh, it's gross.
Or it's like, or it's got like texture to it, and you don't even know what's it from. Yeah. Like, is it from their skin rubbing off? Is it like, do they have like skin problems? Like, I didn't see anything on their hand.
It wasn't that way before, but no. Exactly. So like that's good. But again, talking to like pro players, like if you can find them and they're like not playing a match and they're just hanging out, it turns out that they actually really like fighting games and talking about fighting games. So like that's not crazy if you just like approach them with like, hey man, like how do you feel about the matchup with my character versus the character you main, or like what are your thoughts on that?
Definitely.
And they might have some information for you. I
was going to say actually a little story. When I went to Battlegrounds for the first time, I think it was the very first one they had in Seattle. Mm-hmm. The one where Punk made a big impact or whatever. Right. So it was right before pool started, and I saw Tokido just standing there by himself. And I'm like, okay, I play Vega, he plays Ryu. I have a Ryu to fight next to my pool, so I'm going to ask him a question about the matchup. And I could not believe how like down to earth and polite, and like his English was broken at the time. Like I think it's gotten much better now. Yeah, but
like he's spoken English for a while, but like he has gotten much better. Yeah, I agree.
But he broke down the matchup. I asked him like, oh well, he's like, what do you have problem with? And I'm like, oh well, I have trouble, dealing with a really patient Ryu at the time. And he was like, oh well, if you use claw off, you can. They get more scared and patient. But and this was in season 1 when Clawless was much better. Right. But he said if you want people to come at you, you use claw on. And I'm like, oh, okay. So kind of like use it to bait what you want them to behave like. He's like, yeah, exactly. And then it was just really interesting. I never even thought about it at the time because I was still deeply learning like fundamentals and stuff like that was a little more high level because I started playing in Street Fighter 2, but I was only slightly serious until like I think Super Street Fighter 4, and then I started going to my local scene and then started understanding what the heck an anti-air was and like footsies and frame. I didn't know what frame traps were till like probably like just the beginning of Ultra,
Oh wow.
which is
Okay.
crazy to me. Yeah, because like
Yeah.
because I felt all Street Fighter 4 was like insanely complex, and OS has just confused the hell out of me.
Yeah, and
And
Vega in
then
particular, like his bread and butter
yeah,
hit confirm was like three
one frame
one-frame
links.
links in a row. Like
Yeah, and I
jab,
still can't get
jab.
that down 100%.
Oh, I love that jab, jab, medium punch into
Yeah.
FBA. That's fun. That's a fun combo.
Oh
If you
god,
want
you have
to
no idea.
test your one-frame links, kids, play Vega.
And because you know how you can plink stuff in that game to make things easier, right?
Not with
But the
jab.
thing is, you can't plink jab, so I have to literally like
Unless-
tap
Unless
purposely.
you gotta S-link it, which is select link, or like backlink, which you would have to like rewire your controller to have the select button on the face, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay, I see.
That is a thing that you can do where like the game reads the select input, basically similar to how plinking works. So
I see.
but you would have to like go in and like change the wiring of your controller to make that happen, which a lot of people did if their combos required slinking prior jab plinking, which is kind of a hot mess. But
And the thing was, I was just convinced that like it's because I'm not good enough yet. That's why I can't do it. And then I realized that like Zeus at the time was like the Vega player to look at, right?
yeah,
And even he would drop it sometimes. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll never get it.
I guess this
You know?
combo is just impossible. Oh well.
So basically, how I used it near the end was that I would just use it as a frame trap. So if I ever got the counter hit, then it would add more plus frames on hit, and then I could link the crouch medium punch because I could
Somewhat
at least
true.
confirm that, and then
Yeah, somewhat true.
that would be my offense.
That
Yeah.
would be, man. If, like thinking back to Street Fighter 4, that was like brutal in terms of what it asked you to link versus if you look at Street Fighter 5 to Street Fighter 4, it's like
Yeah.
even that counter hit, like it's not like in Street Fighter 4 where it gives you 2 frames.
Yeah.
If it was a light, it only gave you 1 extra frame.
Right.
You got
It's
2
true.
extra frames if it was a medium or a heavy, but you only got 1 extra frame if it was a light counter hit.
Yeah.
Ugh,
I mean, I liked one frame links, but I didn't like how you had to learn them for some characters. And
Yeah.
like, if you didn't learn these one frame links, then the character is not. You're not doing B&Bs, for example, which is crazy to me, you know. So I did like what Street Fighter 5 did with that. I just wish they kept some one frame links, maybe just for like fancy stuff, like Daigo's Evil Ryu combo he did to Momochi that one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. But for Vega's B&B, come on, dude, don't do it.
Yeah, I a lot of people don't know about me is that my secondary in Street Fighter 4 was Vega. I know
Really?
I know that I front Zangief all the time, but also
Yeah,
I love Vega.
he's so cool, right? Like as a character, I love how he looks and his
Yeah.
play style, just everything about him.
No, I can totally get down with Vega, and even in Super Turbo, like Vega, I think is brutal in terms of the mix-ups that he has.
Yeah.
But I don't think they like Vega in Street Fighter 5 is not the Vega of old. Do you have
Definitely not.
Can you share your thoughts? Have you prepared any thoughts on Vega in Street
I
Fighter?
have.
5?
I think about him every day, to be honest.
Okay.
And about why I like, what I don't like, what I would change, what I would keep the same, what I miss, all that sort
So
of stuff. Because
then
I played him in every game.
I'll ask you this question, and this is
Sure.
not a leading question at all. This is not a
Okay.
loaded question in any way. Why
Mhm.
is Vega the worst character in Street Fighter 5?
So even if I disagree, just like why?
No, that was an entirely loaded question.
It's a little bit just because I disagree, but I will say there are reasons why he's the worst.
Yes.
Like that you could argue, I guess. But I just, as a whole argument, I don't think that's true.
Okay, well, make your case.
But yeah, okay. So I think Vega is mid to low mid. So I'd put him, like, how many characters are there now? Like 30 or just over 30?
It's generous.
Is it? I can't
Uh,
even remember how many.
No, I'm saying mid to low mid is generous for Vega.
Oh, you mean the placement? Yeah.
I haven't counted the characters in a long time. I don't even know how to count.
Because the thing is, like, I feel because when people put him so low, and then I think about the matchups he does well in to me. Like, I think he beats Karen pretty badly, for example. I think he can handle Ibuki. And I think he can destroy characters like Nash. He does well against Sakura. Like, certain characters you think, like, that are placed higher, but, like, I think Vega beats pretty bad or goes even. So that's why I think, like, if you have this many favorable matchups, you can't be the worst in the game, you know? Like, you could not be a great character or top tier, which is fine. Because I think actually Street Fighter V has, like, the closest gaps between character strength. Like, even, like, bottom tier Zangief, I still think is somewhat viable against, like, a handful of characters. It's just, like, maybe not tournament viable, but in, like, first to tens, maybe. You know what I mean?
I actually understand that fully. By the way, there's 32 characters right now. There's going to be 34 32. By the end of the season.
Okay.
But I'll actually buy that defense because I feel that way about Zangief. Well, yeah. The reason why I don't buy it for Vega is that Vega I don't believe has any ways to end around in like 2 guesses.
Yeah, that's true. Like, you mean if I'm fully stocked and he has like half life left, for example?
Yeah, he has no real good way of like landing that one hit into a mix-up, into like a V-trigger cancel, into something that'll really put your opponent in a bind, let's say. He doesn't really have that, or any real good way to push an opponent to a corner, like with the combo.
I would disagree. Disagree with that, though.
I would say. With like,
well, because the thing is, his heavy kick roll carries you to the corner if you're mid-screen.
Okay, that is true. So I guess if you land an actual full combo, then that would be If you're landing your stance change combos into heavy kick roll, okay.
Well, like for example, though, I'll give you a scenario that's very common. So like against Ken and a few other characters, I go clawless for most of the match because off whiff punishes, and in neutral I get a better anti-air and I get better whiff punishes, and I can usually whiff punish with stand medium punch clawless, and that cancels into heavy kick roll. So any whiff punish I get mid-screen and I can hit confirm into heavy kick roll, it will carry them to the corner. And then after that knockdown, Vega gets one of his best meaties that covers both rises. So it's like automatic corner, and I get good pressure, and they're just stuck, you know? I feel like he has...
Is that a dash forward crouching medium kick? Is that the...
you can do dash forward crouching fierce.
Crouching fierce.
Or if they're exactly in the corner, you can do just stand medium punch and then immediately crouch fierce. And if they don't rise, you can just do another stand medium punch, another crouch fierce. And they'll cover literally every wake up. Except DP, of course, but you know.
Right. Okay. But to your point, though, I understand how you would want to move him up the tier list, because there are matchups that you win in certain... There are certain matchups that you win. I feel that way about Zangief, where there are some matchups with Zangief where I think, okay, like he does have the advantage here. And when he gets a knockdown, he absolutely has the advantage here. Characters without a 3-frame, I think, really suffer against Zangief. But there's a huge hole in his game that Vega absolutely has that is really important in this particular fighting game, but having a light confirm that is reliable and doesn't whiff for some reason.
Yeah, that's the one thing that makes it annoying.
Of a big problem.
It's like a pet peeve of mine now, because like I don't know if it's because I'm crazy, but like I purposely drop combos because I know they're probably not going to hit. You know, because of ranges, right?
Like,
and I'm sure Geef is the same way, right?
Geef is the exact
so
same way.
You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I intentionally drop combos and go for a reset, or try and look at how they reacted to that situation, and like and all I got was 2 lights off of it. But then it's like, well, that'll drop. I saw a counter hit there, so I'm not sure if they tried to backdash. So I have to drop this combo. I have to try for something risky, because if I lariat here, they can block it and get basically a full punish on me. Not necessarily the case with Vega. There's not like a huge full punish, but it still puts you at what? It's like -5, or is it -6?
For which one? Sorry.
Light kick roll.
Like you roll -6. Yeah, all of them are 6, 7, and 8, and then EX is -2.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, just not having the ability to, I guess, that's just another thing, right? We were talking about mental strength, where like mentally that's kind of a big ask to like.
It is.
Have that be in your mind of when you are hitting someone, having to think about, well, I can't trust it. I can't trust this.
It's true. Like, I can't. And the thing is, too, like, even the one where he can knock down with claw, like if you do crouch jab into low ASE, unless you're point blank, it'll whiff.
Yeah, you're not going to be close enough.
The ASE. So it won't even combo, which is frustrating beyond belief. But I do realize it's more of like a mix-up tool, sort of. Like, you know, to either tick throw or you do low ASE to catch them walking back or throw teching, right? And the biggest annoyance, though, I have is just what they changed from season 1 to season 2. Because it almost feels like, to me, it's not that they nerf Vega, it's like 2 different designers are trying to force something for Vega, and they had a clear thing in mind for season 1, and then when season 2 came around, it was just like massive changes to frame data, but then it ruined all these other things that either they didn't test or they just don't care. Or that was what their intention was, but it just kept building and building. Like, you know, when they nerfed Vega's wall dive speed, like from the EX one, it messed up all these other combos and other situations where it should work. Like no longer now off certain combos into EX wall dive, I can get a neutral V trigger rose. I have to do the down V trigger because it's slower now coming down. So that means he gets hit later, which means I don't land fast enough to get a neutral rose. Which I feel like it's just something, either it's laziness or that you don't want people to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That sounds... There are a lot of issues where I thought that these certain changes seemed... I don't want to call it lazy, but like...
But the thing is, I don't know, right?
It just... I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know, and it just feels that way. Like certain changes where I was like, okay, they made this change, but like, did they think about this thing? Like, were they worried about this? Like,
but I mean, Geef got, you know, cancel headbutt into SPD. That's so common, right?
No,
I'm sorry. That was the weirdest buff I've ever seen.
It was a weird buff because it also got negated by the V trigger and crush counter scaling. So like,
that's true.
They gave him a buff, but then it also turned into like a huge nerf and waste of meter because of another system that they changed, where it's like, oh, maybe we didn't think about that. So like, it just makes it not useful really in any sense. And it's not like headbutt is that useful. It makes. I'll tell you one thing. It gives Geef one of the best combos in the game, in that if you have your opponent stunned, you do a neutral jump headbutt, and you cancel that into EXSPD, and you just whiff an XPD, EXSPD, or Borscht Dynamite right above them, and then you land headbutt again. So it's like you're just wasting meter for no reason. It's the best combo in the game.
I mean, that's tilting. If I saw that,
disrespect. Yeah, if you saw someone do that, you'd be like, damn.
Well, and the thing that boggles my mind too is that like there are very similar moves to things that got nerfed with Vega. Like for example, like EX Wall Dive is very similar to Akuma's Demon Flip, and yet that is untouched, and that is plus on block in all the situations except for the throw, of course.
Right.
And yet Vega's EX roll is -2.
Well, the dive kick's minus. If
the EX one is plus though.
Oh, EX, yeah. I was gonna say like regular, yeah. Yeah,
So it's just very interesting to me.
Or even so, like the thing that they changed with Akuma that they changed in Rashid was they made it so that Rashid couldn't do his crouching hard punch into or whirlwind shot, but then they gave it to Akuma with standing medium kick, red fireball. Granted, they did take that away. They did just take that away in this one patch where that was basically the only effective thing that they changed. They made some more consistent things with like Armika, I believe, with the chair pushback, but that was like the one change that they were like, oh, his stand medium kick is minus. It's more recovery now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And it is better. It is much better. I feel like because I can get out and react sort of to it, right? If they're going to go for it, and I get punished, which is nice. Well, I'll tell you a few obscure buffs that I want changed, and like this would be like a quick fix. It's not even like big changes. It's just like, for example, I don't know if you're aware, but in one of the patches, I believe it was season 2.5, but Birdie, when he does stand medium punch and he cancels into bullhead, he pops forward a little bit.
I remember
so basically,
that change.
anytime he lands a heavy punch or medium punch, he can always hit bullhorn. Or bullhead, I should say. So I wanted that change for Vega with his roll. So anytime I land, crouch medium punch or stand medium punch, and I cancel him to roll, he'll always reach. From like a whiff punish, whatever, just I want to always hit if I go for it. Because half the time I whiff punish with it, and then the roll gets blocked, and then I eat like 50% from Akuma.
Yeah, that sounds like a fair change. They just have to change the cancel location of those certain normals.
Yeah,
I will say that works both ways in that wherever it gets canceled from can also hurt you in a whiff punish scenario. Granted, that doesn't necessarily affect Birdie too much because medium punch disappears like immediately. You can just You can just throw out that chop however many times you want.
It's true.
It just disappears. But
and then finally, like probably the weirdest thing is that I don't know if you're aware, but when Vega does his rolls, as his rolls are hitting, he does not build meter. He only builds the meter when the kick finally finishes.
Okay.
But then you can't cancel anything from it because basically as you're rolling, you can cancel into super.
I see.
But I wish that for each roll or each hit of the roll, it would build a little bit of meter.
Where it was like 10, 10, 10, 20 or something.
Yeah. So because there's a lot of times in situations where I'm about to kill them and I land a roll combo like off a whiff punish or whatever it is, and I would have built super off like the second roll, but because I don't, I'm like I have to just let it go and then try to survive and kill them, right? But for example, other characters like Abigail, each Abigail punch builds meter. So a lot of times when he does it and he gets super, he can just wait for it and then cancel into super.
Yeah, no, that is a smart change. I would agree with that. The change that I think they should make with Vega, in particular, the one thing that I just feel it just makes him. I guess I would want to take away his useless buttons. And when I say useless buttons, I just mean like make crouching, medium punch, clawed further range, because I mean you can't cancel it. So like, why not give it more range? Why not make it like a better poke?
You know what's a little insulting too, like design wise, is that his animation like throughout Street Fighter, like if you look at crouch medium punch, he like lunges forward and like really wants to kill you with a crouch medium punch. You know what I mean? Like he's got determination in his body pose, right?
Yeah, it looks good. His animations look good.
Yeah, but in 5, he just kind of sits in a crouching stance and just pushes his arm, like thrusts his arm forward without any body movement. So I feel like if they just did that, well, and the thing is too, like the hitbox itself is also shorter than the claw.
Yes.
So at least if they matched it to the claw, I would feel a little bit better. Like same with stand heavy punch in claw. Because I can't tell you how many times I missed a shimmy punish because I walked back like a pixel too far.
Oh yeah,
and the claw goes right through them.
Terrible hitbox. The animation
and it was better before.
Of that swipe up is like there's a whole like he tears the fabric of space time with that claw. But even if you're standing in it, it doesn't matter because the hitbox is like at his fucking elbow.
But the thing is, like the claws, the blade effect is like cutting them.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, guys.
I understand what you're saying there with his crouching medium punch, because like if you look at Street Fighter 4, CVS 2, if you look at even Super Turbo, like that crouching medium punch is like it goes out there, and I would be okay with like they made it like a slower normal, like
I don't mind like a frame or two slower.
Just give it as like long as extra range, give it some utility to be like to stuff some buttons and say stop it, stop moving.
And the thing is, like, I don't want to change what Vega is either. Like, I want him to maintain what he is, like a Matador style, right? Like a poke, kind of get in how you want, like hit and run sort of style, really mobile, like, you know, screen control sort of. So yeah, I don't want it cancelable either. I just want it to be a really good poke, because there's some pokes in the game that aren't for Vega, and like they do way better of doing the same thing, like Karen's like stand medium kick, for example.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, if Vega's crouching medium punch had the range of Karen's standing medium kick,
oh my god, I would cry.
It'd be great.
I would cry that day they released it in the patch notes. I'd be like, thank you, Capcom.
Yeah, or just like, match to hitbox with crouching medium punch animation, and all Vegas around the world rejoiced.
Yeah. That's the funny thing too, because like when you play a character that's not 100% strong in every area, when you get like a little buff, you think it's like the greatest thing in the world.
Oh yeah.
And I've been guilty of that too. Like when they buffed the light kick roll, first hit distance, I exploded. I was like, this is huge. I'm never going to drop a light kick roll again. And it turns out it just helps like ever so slightly. Barely.
It makes the coin flip a little more in your favor, but not always.
Yeah.
Not
but it's
always.
Just like, just go a little further. Like, do you think Vega's going to break the game if his light kick roll hits all the time? Really? No. Come on.
Like if all light confirms were consistent in this game, or like, I don't know, that's something about in this game that makes me a little frustrated. Like especially when you see the way that they've designed things from like season 2 onward. In particular, even if you just look at like Cody, you can just mash jab. Granted, he's going to be like, you have to confirm it off of at least the second jab, but like,
it's true.
You can just mash it from anywhere. And like, if he hits it, he's gonna hit you. Like,
I think that's a specific case, though, don't you think? Just because it's more of a nod to like Final Fight.
That is true, and maybe that's unfair.
Yeah.
But also, like, take a look at Blanca. If he hits you with that stand light punch and cancels it into whatever he wants to, be it electricity, be it Blanca ball, like, gonna get tagged.
It's true.
It's just
I actually used to play Blanca though, and I found out you can only do one light normal into electricity. If you do 2, they will always whiff.
Okay.
So if you do 2 lights and you want it to still follow up, you have to do EX electricity.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have to do EX, I think.
Then that'll reach, and then you get a follow up, and etc.
Yeah, his EX electricity I think is really good. I haven't looked at much high tier Blanca play, but like, I really like his crouching medium punch into EX electricity just as pressure, just to say.
Yeah, me too.
I got a little bit of meter, so like, why not crouching medium punch electricity, and let's see what happens.
It's +6 on block.
Yeah, let's just see what happens with that, because he has setups where he can do that on both rises. It's a little fun little thing for Blanca. I like Blanca,
and his anti-air is really good. I'd say it's just as good as Armika's, probably, because it hits behind his head too.
Of anti-airs,
oh god.
Back to Vega.
Please.
How do you feel about Vega's anti-airs?
So, I'm really happy that they buffed him in, I believe it was Arcade Edition, not 3.5. Yeah, they increased the hitbox a little bit and reduced the hurt box, which is nice. So good quality of life buffs. It's still not enough.
You're speaking about his crouching hard punch.
Yeah, well, because his stand hard kick, I think, is perfect. Like, I think you don't need to modify it at all, because like it's meant for, you're looking for a jump specifically, and you're seeing it and doing it. It's not supposed to be like a late anti or nut button. It's supposed to be a little earlier, and then it crush counters more often now, which is nice.
Yes.
But yeah, crouch heavy punch, the clawed version is definitely not made for anti-airing at normal jump-in ranges. I've noticed, because the way they increase the hurt box, they increase it horizontally, not vertically. So basically, I figure, like, design-wise, that it's meant to be used as like a better poke or a counter poke. But Vega's crouching a heavy punch in clawless is definitely better as an anti-air. It's just the problem is that it doesn't have enough active frames, I think. Like, the animation is not actually how long it's active for, which is the problem. So if like I whiff a throw and they neutral jump at me and I go whiff throw crouch fierce immediately, like my fist will still be there, but I'll get hit by, like, you know, Ken's jump roundhouse or jump medium or jump heavy punch, for example, and then I die.
I guess that's the thing about Vega, though, is that he does have an anti-air for every situation.
Yeah, definitely.
But
he does. They're very specific, though.
You have to be thinking about it.
Yeah.
And more often than not, you're jumping medium kick. Or light kick.
I would say actually jump medium punch, arguably, just because it hits straight up in an upwards angle, and it beats certain things, and the things it trades with, it actually benefits Vega. Like,
is that
for example,
a neutral jump medium punch or a jump forward medium punch?
Either or works just as well, I find. Okay. But like, for example, if you do it against Akuma or Ibuki, which I typically don't like to anti-air on the ground because they have ways of, you know, stuffing you on the ground, like with you know, kunai or fireball. But if you hit them in the air and you trade with their projectile, you actually win the trade. And you get a meaty as well. You can get a meaty crouch jab into command grab or whatever you want, like a low ASE if you have claw on.
All right, so
it's quite fast too. So.
I think that those things, which are basically inconsistent, or at least requiring brain power of anti-airing and not having that light confirm, just automatically drop him in the ranks, regardless of where his matchups stand. Where, like, you might think that, I haven't asked you about this, but how do you feel about, like, you might think that Vega beats Zangief. You also might not think that.
I do.
Okay.
It's definitely a good matchup. He beats, you know, all of the grapplers in my mind.
Okay. Yeah, because you can just medium punch Aurora Spin Edge, and Geef actually doesn't have an answer for that. Like,
definitely.
It pushes you to the corner, but like, that's just
you have to make
like
a pretty solid read. You have to like know my habits, basically.
You basically have to preemptively press stand hard kick, which like is a long range, like from far out to where Vega can whiff punish you if you do it fairly easily, but like that's like the only thing you can do. Or jump preemptively, which again, not ideal and also manageable with Vega's other options from the range that you would be jumping. Regardless, so like those anti-airs being a problem, light confirms being a problem, which like there's ways to fix those things. I think automatically kind of just drop him in the ranks, just in general, regardless of matchups.
I think just the biggest issue about his anti-airs is just that it's only when you compare that they're bad. You know what I mean? Because on their own, they're actually like decent. If you just look at how consistent they are, the thing is you just can't do them early, and you really can't do them late. You have to like, it's like kind of like older Street Fighter style, I find. Like you have to like specifically know. And the thing is, like, he never had good anti-airs before either. Like, this is the best anti-airs he's probably had, aside from, you know, Scarlet Terror, which is like a special move.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
But
like,
I was like to say, like, Street Fighter 4 Scarlet Terror, man, or like just Stand Roundhouse was pretty good. Stand Roundhouse was pretty good.
It lost to so many jump-ins, though. Like, when I record Ryu doing a jump heavy kick, I can't anti-air him unless he's at, like, the furthest range possible.
Yeah, you did end up having to do, like, neutral jump medium kick a lot with Vega.
Yeah, it's true. And his air throw is, like, an amazing anti-air.
Yeah,
like, it's super good. Yeah. And it's still good in this game. Like, it's crazy, too. Like, his jump air throw in 5 does more damage than his light and medium punch command grab, which is nuts to me.
Math.
It's nuts. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Any closing thoughts on Vega before we move on?
I mean, I love the character. I've tried to use secondary characters for some bad matchups I've had, but like at the point I'm at now, I've just kind of given up on doing that because two reasons. One, it won't feel good to win a tournament or whatever when I've used other characters, because then I can't give full credit to Vega, which I want. And another thing, just because I just love the character too much.
That's fair. I know some Zangief mains out there that will totally back you on that.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I've said this before on Twitter and whatnot, or in other contexts, but basically, I strongly, strongly believe, and I don't think there's anything someone can say to me to make me think otherwise, but it's just that I think he's strong enough to win tournaments or to win things that matter. But I just think I'm not strong enough yet, and I need to catch up to how strong I think Vega is. Even if he may not be the best in the game or, viable according to some people, but I feel like he really like when I lose with him or I lose in a scenario, it's because I did something wrong, not because the character is broken or inefficient or whatever. Because it's something I can fix.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I can understand that opinion. I don't know if I agree with it. But I'm just a little more jaded, and I've come to terms that most Zangief mains have just switched to Abigail because Abigail can win.
Yeah. I just love Geef though. I think there are some matches though that Geef does better than Abigail. It's not many, but I think there are a few examples, like Balrog, for example. I agree. I don't know how you feel about that, but
yes, I do agree with that. But also, Abigail wins a lot more matchups than Zangief wins.
He does, for sure.
The overall matchup chart. Regardless, we got to move on to other stuff. Can you talk to me about the Vancouver scene at all?
Yeah, for sure. So basically, we're located in Vancouver, Richmond, specifically, of BC. Which, like, in terms of, like, BC, Richmond is known as, like, the Asian part of Vancouver.
Okay, I did not know that.
And we actually have Kenny Lam, so Airyu from Street Fighter 4 days. He's actually the TO and runs all the events.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude. Like,
he's so cool, honestly. Like, I was kind of like starstruck when I first realized that it was him, because I just watched like a Micros video of him teaching Ryu to people.
Yeah, like the cross counter video. If you look up cross counter air Ryu, it's like a God, how long is that? I couldn't even guess. He does like at least 10 to 20 minutes on each matchup, and then like a whole In my mind, about an hour. Yeah, in my mind, it's like 24 hours. It's a full day of him sitting down on a couch talking about everything Ryu can do in that version of the game.
It's amazing. I opened my eyes.
It's really
opened my eyes and soul.
Yeah, and that is actually a really good introduction to the game in general. Game in general, because it does specifically open you up to not only just like, here's what Ryu can do. He's also like, well, you want to stand here because look at this. Like, look at this situation. Or you want to do this option select because they have no options here. Or like, you want to throw a fireball from this range because if Zangief lariats, look at this. I can punish him every time, like on reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, whoa, like, okay, like, though that's how you should be thinking about character matchups, or like, here's someone's approach to fighting games, who like is very intelligently looking at it and breaking down the game into its core mechanics.
It's transferable, all transferable skills, and it's just up to you to determine what you can take and what you can study, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. But he runs that scene out there.
Yeah, so basically every week. So he runs a bunch of fighting games. I believe it's from Tuesday to Sunday. And Street Fighter happens on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock. Okay. And then stream for top 8 usually starts at 9 p.m. And then Sundays as well at the same time frame.
All right, cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've gotten probably, like, if I didn't have my scene, I probably would not be as good as I am today.
that is everyone. That is
Definitely not. Yeah, I know a lot of people say that, but like,
yeah, no,
really,
like, I don't say it to be like dismissive of that opinion. I want to say that to be encouraging of people to be like, get involved, play people in your area, meet with people that are stronger than you, and learn from them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not only that too, but like I've gotten like, no, you're totally right, and like I've gotten so many experiences because of them. Because like for 2 years, the Red Bull, well, not 2 years, but like for I think it was last year only, but the Red Bull Proving Grounds circuit would come through Vancouver, and I qualified twice. One time Kenny or Ariu was supposed to go, but then I took his spot because I was the runner-up in 4th place. But then the one in Chicago, I actually qualified in 2nd place.
Oh, word.
So I got to travel to LA and Chicago for the first time just because I placed well at tournaments for Street Fighter V in my local scene.
Yeah, you would be surprised how many places just being involved with fighting games will take you. That's a cool story.
Exactly. And I started streaming because of one of the players I know. His name's Togashi Azrael. He's like a Nash player.
I know Azrael. I recognize that name.
Yeah. So he streams like every day. He's like a full-time streamer, but he also does a job on the side. And so he's super dedicated. But yeah, I've learned a bunch of like Twitch stuff from him. Ceroblast as well is from Vancouver. Like he's a super strong player.
He just got signed, actually, didn't he?
He just got signed, yeah. And we all supportive of him. So yeah, it's great for him and great for the scene.
I can't remember the team actually, because it's like a Bitcoin team. It's
it was like a cryptocurrency thing. It was like EC.
Let me look it up. Continue.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but yeah, and even the players that like aren't signed or aren't even known, like we all really support each other. And I think a lot of scenes do, but like I think it's just really important to like constantly push each other to improve and like always share tech, because I think that's why Japan does so well, because like they share everything with each other, and I think like North America doesn't do that enough. Like in theory fighting, I think people don't do that enough either. Like they need to talk about why you were going for this certain thing and why you weren't going for other things, or what you were feeling or thinking in this situation here. Just talk more, talk about your feelings.
He joined Esports Ecosystem.
There you go.
Which is Esports Eco on Twitter if you're looking for them. Also, if you're into Bitcoin, I think it has
the financial commie he calls himself. Yeah.
right.
I've always laughed at that name.
Yeah, it's pretty funny actually. You're totally right. Like the opportunities that you get just by being ingrained in the people that are around you is like, because guess what? There's a lot of very driven people in the FGC, as it turns out. To be as skilled and as talented as they are, like, takes a lot of effort, and you can learn a lot from them. So highly encouraged.
And especially too, like when I first went, my impression going in was that I'm gonna see how well I do. Like I thought I was so good.
Nah, you trash.
I thought it was so good. Yeah, I was hot garbage. I went, like, to tell you how frustrating it was, I went 0-2 for a month and a half. I didn't get around on anybody. Even the worst player there, who played Gouken and was like a casual player. And I think also because I hated Gouken at the time. But after I got my first match and I went 1-2, oh my god, I was hooked forever.
It's good.
I could not stop.
It's good.
Yeah, it's a really good feeling. And then like when I got, top 8 after that, when I got, certain placings, it's just every little milestone just kind of snowballs, and it feels better and better and better, and then you want to give back more, like, more of your time, more of your support for your scene. I think we're, because we're very fortunate for our scene, because like their space is very good. We have like a good stream setup. We have like commentator couch, for God's sake. Like we have all the cameras necessary, the mics. It's just like
anything that I've seen humbling, out of that community has been pretty good quality. Yeah, impressive.
We have star wipes, for God's sake, like for transitions.
Okay. Base the quality of your community on star wipes, which listen, I'm actually not making fun of you. Highly appreciate some dumbass fuck shit as a star wipe. That shit is tight.
Because come on, what stream has that, right?
None. I got the Star Wipes.
Right?
You're not going to see Star Wipe on any of my streams. I'm not that professional the streamer, apparently. No, it's rad as hell. I do want to bring up, we kind of talked about Red Bull, is that this weekend, Red Bull Conquest, Dallas, Texas, and St. Paul, Minnesota. So if you're in any of those regions, hit them up this weekend. And also this weekend, I don't know if there are any listeners from Asia, but SEA Malaysia is this weekend as well, if you can travel to so those are the things that are kind of going on, but specifically the Red Bull Conquest in Dallas, Texas, and St. Paul. If you can find your way out to them, or if that makes sense for you to travel to those this weekend, I recommend it. They can be a fun time.
Especially Red Bull. I find Red Bull has like the best events to go to if you're a first timer.
Yeah, Romanova was talking about it a couple weeks ago when she went to one of these events and was like, there was like a VR setup there. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? A VR setup? Like,
where they're breaking the car or whatever. Yeah.
And I'm like, wait,
it's
like
crazy.
What? Like they have that kind of shit? Like that's some real dumb fun that I can super get behind, and that's some real cool stuff. So if you are around those regions, I can see no reason not to.
Highly recommend. Highly recommend.
So that's kind of what's going on this weekend. Two other things that I want to bring up before we kind of try and wrap things up here, because we're kind of pushing into it now. Don't want to take up too much of your time.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
Hi Fight released a game. Did you?
I saw that today.
Footsies.
Yeah, it's footsies. Yeah,
footsies. Damn, such a good idea. And it's what it is. It's super basic. It's effectively a more advanced dive kick. I don't want to reduce it that far because he made a very good series of short, in very Hi Fight fashion, 1 minute long clips of here's this part about this game, here's another part about this game in this thread, and I'll link it in the show notes. But it's just this is the most Hi Fight thing you could have ever made. This is great. Thank you so much. And people are already taking it to their locals and playing it. And
it's out already. You can play it.
You can just do. You can. He posted to GitHub. You can just play it. You can just play it, and you can take it to if you have a laptop, and you can take that to a local. You can play it. It is a game that you can play. You can play footsies.
Jesus Christ!
So if you haven't seen it yet, very I actually don't even want to say it's crude animations, because the way that it animates is oddly smooth, but it's very pixels. It's just pixel outlines of a Ryu looking character, and you move back and forth. You can dash, and you can do either I'll just say the contemporaries. You can do a standing medium kick or a crouching medium kick. The standing medium kick is faster for punishing, but the crouching medium kick has more range.
Yes. And it's the third strike one too. It's the Ryu crouch medium kick.
Yeah, it's the one where it sticks out. So you have that, but how you beat your opponent is you have to confirm that hit into a special move. And that's how you deal. That's how you deal the KO. Is you have to get that hit and then cancel into your special move, and you can block, right? So if you block and they cancel, you're punishable, and you could lose health. But you can only block, I think, 4 or 3 times, and then you do it's guard break after that. You can't block anymore. So
really,
you can't be over defensive because you'll just get blown up by frame advantage.
I want this at Evo right now.
I guarantee you this will be at Evo. I guarantee you this will be at Evo. No questions asked.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. You'll see people losing so much money. John Choi will take all of your money.
Footsies.
For free.
They love footsies.
John Choi would love to take your money.
Jesus. It'll just be like the arcade. People just start lining up, and then he's just going to knock them out one by one. And then you're going to go back to the line, and he's going to walk out with $1 billion. It's simple.
No, so that is awesome, and I just want to give a big congratulations to High Fight for making that. And also, I believe Weed helped with it as well. So follow both of them on Twitter, and also just like support this awesome, dumb, great thing that exists now in the world. This is so great. It's fantastic.
Amazing.
The other thing I want to bring up, do you want to talk about fighting EX Layer at all in any way?
Well, I liked it so much that I changed my name on Twitter to Fighting EX Geki.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to bait you into a response there at all.
Yeah. No, I know. But yeah, no, I love Fighting EX. Like, I grew up playing the EX series, like the Street Fighter EX. I wasn't a big fan of the graphics, but I definitely loved the characters and like the tools they had, like just the whole like mechanics of the game. And I love that you could cancel into supers and then cancel those supers into other supers, right? So I love the whole idea. And then when EX was announced for PS4 beta, like last year, I was incredibly hyped. And when it came out, I was like, this is everything I wanted in a fighting game. Because
it was this thing that started as what people thought was an April Fool's joke.
Yeah, and I think it was sort of like, let's test the waters thing.
And the developer was like, well...
People want this.
I guess we'll make a Skullomania game, which is like hilarious.
It's so amazing. Like, I love Garuda in the game. Garuda's like my guy.
So what do you?
What do I
like about the game in general? Because a lot of people picked it up. I don't know if a lot of people are actually playing it. It's one of those things where people were like, I like that they did this, and I want to support this. But I don't know how this game works. I don't know how the systems work. What should I be looking for? What's good about this game?
So I think basically I think the people that are going to like it the most are the ones that kind of miss old school fighting game design, like low fours that are crazy long reach and cancelable.
Oh,
you know,
God, they're so long range. They're ridiculous.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Or like, you know, crazy stuff that seems broken, but like everyone has broken stuff, so it's like fine.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
almost intentionally broken stuff.
Exactly. Or like, this looks too strong, but we're gonna let it rock because you can do something different that's also really good. You know what I mean? And also the Gogi system. It feels like what Street Fighter Cross Tekken should have been like, but even crazier. If I could say that, because there's more like Gogi that affect certain things and aspects in the game. And the thing is, that's nice about it too, is that as you're playing a match between two characters that have two specific decks of Gogi, then by the second round or even the final round, everything can change, because that means certain Gogi have activated by that time. And there's crazy stuff, like there's full screen teleports. Like if you dash forward, you just teleport in front of your opponent.
So
there's full screen jumps.
For people who might not know, explain just very basically how the Gogi system works.
So essentially what you do after picking your character, you pick a Gogi deck, which is essentially like picking a set of passive skills that will unlock after a certain amount of time in the game, or after certain conditions are met. Like, I knocked my opponent down 5 times. This activates, for example, right? And basically there's buffs that buff your character in a certain way. Like there's armor, there's like guard break, there's, guard canceling, there's like meter up, all that sort of stuff. And it's just based on the characters you play. And the thing I like about it too is that it's based on how you like to play X character. It's not really like this character only works with this Gogi. It's like how you like to play, that's what works best for you.
Can I mix and match my Gogi?
No, which I love, because I think that's what kind of broke Street Fighter Cross Tekken, is that you could choose individual Gogis.
And I think
the thing is, each deck has a theme, right? So each theme of the deck is like balanced in its own right, and then there's counters, or sort of counters, to each deck.
And I think because of that, I hear a lot of people call it gems, right? And I feel like that's like a scary word that the FGC has learned to reel away from. But
for sure,
it actually functions a lot more like grooves in CVS2. Of here's just a set of here's just a set of abilities that you can now have with this deck of Gogi.
Yeah, that's actually a good way of putting it.
And here's another deck of which gives you a whole other set of abilities, and and so on and so forth. It feels much more similar to that. Not entirely that way, just because of how that game was in particular, but it is, in my opinion, similar to that.
Yeah. It is that. I've never thought about that, because it is probably more like CVS2 with the grooves. But I think just like aesthetically, it's more like the gem system, because it's like certain conditions have to be met before you're able to use these abilities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like the way that they're activated and the way that they present themselves in the game are more like, this is a thing now, and when I dashed, I was invisible for a second, so what's that about? Yeah, you're right. It's true. Like, that thing popped now, or I'm one knockdown away from activating this Gogi, so like, am I going to try to go for a sweep or something like that? Just things like that.
And the thing that's hype about it too is that like whatever you activate in a round, that stays throughout the entire match. So you could be playing a certain way against a player, or like a certain like character, for example, right? But then as soon as they activate one Gogi that they've been trying to activate the whole time, you have to change everything that you've been doing to counter that one aspect of their Gogi or their play style.
Or you can't block
it just changes,
because it has guard crush, or like things like that just change the way. It's very fluid in that way of the match starts out playing one way, and ends up playing an entirely different way that you have to actively think about if both players are effectively using their Gogi.
Exactly. I think it's gonna, as time goes on, people are gonna just be more creative with like how they approach matchups, and different characters using different decks and all that sort of stuff. And I think it's gonna be a great game in the future.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to continue working on it, because I really want to bring it up on this episode, because just this morning or last night, where they announced, listen, enough people are playing, and we've made enough money so far that we can finish these 2 characters that we were working on. And guess what? We also have an arcade mode. So it's like, here's all this stuff that like we now have the ability to finish, because we didn't think that we were going to have the money for it. Because guess what? Game development is expensive.
Of course. It's a tiny team too, like super small team.
It's super small. And if you're actually wondering at all about like this is kind of an aside, but if you're curious at all about the cost of fighting games, look up the cost of what it takes to, I think you just Google this directly, what it takes to make one character in Skullgirls. There was a very good breakdown write-up of like, this is how much it costs to animate. This is how much it costs to develop that character's normals. This is what it takes to develop the special moves, and how and like balance the whole game. Like, does this break? And it broke down like, this is the cost of this, so that like when people see like, oh damn, that's like a high number, be like, well, yeah, like this.
It's game development.
It's game development, man. This shit's expensive. Like, hang with us. But with that said, enough people were like, yes, this. I'm glad that this game exists. Thank you for making this thing. Where they were like, well, guess what? You guys thanked us enough that we can finish this stuff that we were working on. So, like, super thank you. And also, continue to support it, please. And maybe we can do more if you want. And
the craziest thing, too, is that it's free. The characters are free. Arcade mode is free.
I totally forgot to. Yeah, I forgot to mention that part, is that these characters are free, which is like that is the actual huge announcement part of this. That it's like, it's not DLC characters. When I say they've added new characters, it's just they've just added the characters. You just get them.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think you probably have to download them, but like, there's no fight money required. There's no season pass. They're just gonna give it to you old school.
Yeah. Well, actually, now that I think about it, do you only get that with the standard version of the game? Actually,
that I'm not aware of. I believe if you have either version, you'll get both.
I would be willing to bet that they only. I'm not looking this up right now, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I would be led to believe that you would only get DLC characters if you bought the standard version, which is only $20 more. But
it's not a big difference.
It's not a big difference. And also, like, if you want to just try out the game for the $40, you get basically everything except one Gogi deck and one character. I forget which character it is.
Yeah, you don't get a Hokuto.
Yes.
She's basically like this Shirase's good form, sort of.
Even though Shirase seems broken in this game currently. But also, all the characters are broken. I don't know. Like, all the characters are broken. So, like, I don't know. Darun is very good. Darun throws his hips into the air, and you go into space. So, like, that's...
You get a reset after that.
I am okay with Darun. Darun is a good boy, and that is a good super. I'm super on board with whatever he got going on in the midsection to what makes you go so high. It's very good. It's very, very good.
Dude, it's core exercises. That's all it takes.
Yeah, you just gotta work that core. Okay, so that's enough time for Fighting EX Layer. Again, they really missed the boat on calling it Fighting Layer EX.
Yeah, that's true.
How could they have done? I can't believe they've done this. That's
inexcusable in my opinion.
Really just unforgivable. However, if that sounds good to you, maybe look up how that plays, because there are some people who I understand like don't enjoy the way that like dashing into normals in order to combo works. I can see that turning people off, right? And it's very aggressive in that way of like you can be full screen and then you dash forward into your combo, and then like that's the only way that you can get certain links to land, because you carry momentum as you dash and cancel into a normal.
Definitely, yeah. But I think like if you like Street Fighter V, I think you will enjoy this game, because it's just like if they cranked the craziness factor of characters and like, you know, the side effects of like, you know, the Gogi, and like cranked it to 100, you know? It's just if like they overbuffed everyone in Street Fighter V, I feel like you'd get Fighting Layer EX or Fighting EX Layer.
I would almost say if you were a fan of, and this is like a bad comparison because this game didn't have a lot of fans, but if you were a fan of Street Fighter Cross Tekken, you will actually like this game.
Oh yeah, for
like,
sure.
Like chain combos.
Cross Tekken's a good game.
Yeah, like chain combos, launchers, like all kinds of weird, dumb fun that you can have with those kind of games. But okay, enough about Fexel. It's enough Fexel for the night. Gonna go into the ending portion of the show. Listeners might know that anytime I have a new guest on, I like to ask them the core 2 questions that I ask everybody. And so, Geki, I extend these questions to you, which is, first question, what is your favorite normal attack in any game?
Okay, so I'm tempted to pick a Vega normal, but I think in terms of all fight, like the most significant to me, like that holds a personal place in my heart, I think is Ken's stand heavy punch in Street Fighter 2, like the original Street Fighter 2. Okay. And it has to be on the Super Nintendo, because, and I'll tell you why, because there is a heck of a lot of frame drops when you hit someone with a heavy attack. So in the scenario I'm looking at, that makes me just like, I go full childhood and like I can't get out for at least a day. But if Balrog is dashing at me with a dash punch and I'm Ken and I stand heavy punch and interrupt this dash punch, the slowdown effect is so dramatic. And then the pose Balrog takes, he's like leaning forward and I think he's vomiting blood. I'm not sure. But because there's an effect that comes out in the older Street Fighters, and I don't know if it's blood or if it's vomit, but like it just looks so satisfying and it feels so good. So that's why it's my favorite normal.
It's unintentional.
And I love it with Ken. Exactly. Yeah. And I love it with Ken just because he's super cocky, right? So it just fits like how painful it is for Balrog to get hit by his fist.
That's an interesting answer. I'll extend. I like that. I like how it's tied to a moment, tied to a certain instance, and specifically a console that.
Yeah.
Which may or may not have issues running the game in total. That was a good.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was a good game. I
mean, broken as hell, but
yeah, broken as hell, but a fine port for its day.
Yeah.
If you could choose a Vega normal attack, I'm going to extend this. I'm going to give you a sub.
Yeah, please.
if you could choose a Vega normal, which would it be?
And I would have to pick the specific game, right? Because the normals are slightly different in each game.
Yeah, absolutely. These things matter.
It's true. I would pick Street Fighter 4, and I would pick Vega's Close Stand Heavy Punch.
Yeah,
because that would just kill. That would murder anyone.
That's
like
I like
two slashes.
Yeah, I like that normal.
Cancelable into crouch medium punch, and it leads to so much damage. And plus, like, it just looks brutal. You know,
because if you've never played that game, when he is close up and he presses heavy punch, it is like slash. It's a double, like, take this, and you can link after it into a big combo. It's a whole thing. It can beat focus attacks because it's 2 hits, so you don't have to worry about that. Can beat certain backdashes.
Oh, because it's so active. He's like swinging forever.
Yeah, not all based on range and distance, but like some. No, it's a good button. I am in agreement with that button. Good stuff. Okay, then I will ask you the second question. What is your favorite combo in any game?
So I had one written down, but I think I'm going to change it to...
Oh, okay.
Basically, I don't have a specific combo, but I will say in Killer Instinct...
It could be like a situation.
I think ultra combos...
Yeah.
Okay, I'd say ultra combos are the best combo in any fighting game.
Okay, elaborate.
So if you have never played Killer Instinct, basically... It's amazing because when you land an ultra combo, so basically how you perform it is you do a combo, and if they get to danger in their life bar, it'll like flash red, and then you'll have the word danger above their health. If at any point you're in mid combo and that happens, if you do a sequence, like usually it's like a special move that the character already has, you just add 3 punches or 3 kicks instead of the regular single punch or 2 punches, and it'll trigger an ultra combo, which basically... You'll do a crazy flurry. It's almost like a brutality in like the older Mortal Kombat games. You do a bunch of crazy hits in like sequence, and they'll end with a big finisher, and then you can extend that finisher for style points. But what's really nice about having it in the new Killer Instinct is that each hit is timed to the music of that stage.
This is a good answer.
So it's super hype. When it's basically like you're making a new song, and then even when you add extra points, like let's say you juggle further after the final juggle, it still does the music with it too. So that's why it's my favorite combo. And specifically, I'll say I enjoy Fulgor's the most because he's just a badass robot and he just wants to kill.
Yeah, no, I can get down with that. Specifically, the music of Killer Instinct is like top tier in terms of soundtracks for video games. The composer for Killer Instinct was also the composer for the new Doom. So if you like the Doom soundtrack, Mick Gordon, dude has put some metal as fuck music out there. So if you were like, and it's very similar to that in Doom, where like there's a cadence to the music that matches the brutality of what is happening on the screen to such satisfying effect, to where when the ultra combo happens and you're hitting those beats, it is ultra satisfying and I hate using this word because it's overused, but this is legitimately a good use for this word, in a visceral way, where like it is a visceral situation where you are in it and you can feel those punches, and like your body's just in tune with it and hearing all that. Oh, it's very, very good. Very good.
100%, yeah. And I watched a GDC talk of the Killer Instinct composer talking about the sound effects and the music in Killer Instinct. And I think it's like an hour and a half long, but he goes in really deep detail about what his mindset was for it and like how he came up with the Ultra Combo music system. It's a really good watch if you want to learn more about it.
Yeah, no, he actually does a lot of good video, like long breakdowns of that for basically any game he works on too. He did one for Doom as well, I believe. More so a breakdown of like how he composed it. And I like it if you just search Mick Gordon composer. You know how like Google will have slight things that they say about them. I just want to read this quote. Mick Gordon, Doom composer Mick Gordon, and then it has a quote from him. One of the preconditions of the project was no metal. Which is like a hilarious quote to pull out. Because if you know that soundtrack, it's like it is the most metal, and you just think of someone saying we'd like to make a Doom but no metal is like no, you don't know. Trust me, you're gonna want this. And then you hear that soundtrack and it is ripping. It's so good.
Damn.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Good answers all around.
Thank you. And plus, like, I love Killer Instinct. I think that game needs more love.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
I know it's a Street Fighter podcast, but I just want to put it out there.
You can play it on PC.
I do. Yeah.
Like it was locked to the Xbox, but no longer. You can just play it on PC now.
And it was $10 at a point. Yeah.
It was very recently where it was on sale. I can't remember if it was because of summer sale or otherwise, but you can get it for cheap. You get it for cheap, and it's a good game.
It's super cheap.
People are still playing it. It will be at CEO probably. I can't necessarily guarantee that or speak for Rick, but like, that game's probably gonna be a CEO. Like,
oh yeah, he makes it a big deal to like get it at the tournament.
All right. Okay, and so ends the questions, and I will let you pitch again what you've brought to the table. Anything else you want to share before we close up here? We close up shop.
No, I mean, just thank you for having me. You can follow me at my Twitter or Twitch or YouTube, which is all PB_Geki. And
brand
you can catch our local scene.
Very good.
Yeah, and you can catch our local scene, which is at Vancouver Street Battle, and the Twitch and the Twitter is Van Street Battle. And we stream every Thursday, Sunday, but also from Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday as well, playing other fighting games. But I'm there all the time. So,
no, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for coming on and sharing why you think Vega is not bottom tier, even though you might be wrong.
Exactly.
No, absolutely. Thank you.
Like, I want Capcom to think that they're terrible, so then he gets buffed. But anyway.
No. You got to say he's top tier. And then they'll buff him. That's how it works. Don't you know anything?
I haven't learned.
You just got to complain a lot that he's the best. That way they know who to buff, which is the character who says the best. They only work in reverse psychology. Anyway, folks. Again, PB Geki, thank you for joining us on this week's episode of RSF Radio. That's a show, folks. Again, I'm Joe Monday. You can find me at Super Joe Monday on Twitter or Joe_Monday on the Reddits. Or if you just want to tweet the show directly, or the official Twitter account of the subreddit, which is a dumb fucking thing to say, is at RedditSF on Twitter. So that's where all these things are posted from. Look forward to the West Coast tournament tomorrow night with Kamikaze Warrior. Then we're spinning things back up on Monday with the East Coast. We might change the bracket system. Little heads up there. We might be switching to payday.gg for certain reasons, which in practice are like pretty rad. But we'll see how that turns out. This all depends on like how much free time that I have in between now and Monday, which may or may not be 0 hours. But that's another story for another time. Catch us again every Thursday on another edition of RSF Radio. Take care, folks. Until next time.